Welcome back to that rugby podcast hosted by the Rugby Booth. Myself and Husey are back after a very, very successful week, not only for the Anzacs, but for all of the Southern Hemisphere, the dominant hemisphere in
Southern
world rugby.
Hemisphere sweep,
Yep.
baby. I actually had to Google this because I was like, "Oh, Japan lost. Japan's in the Northern Hemisphere."
Don't count,
For those
exactly.
that aren't that don't know which hemisphere every single country in the world is in, Japan, Northern Hemisphere. So complete Southern Hemisphere domination. It is clear that the Rugby Championship is the Tier 1 international rugby competition. Six Nations take a back seat. Super Rugby, better than the URC. South Africa teams get back into Super Rugby. It is a clean sweep. Not only a clean sweep in their territory as
Yep.
well.
Yep, we went there and did what we needed to get the job done. So what we're going to do today is basically run through the games, run you through our thoughts on all of the games, all of the Tier 1 games, and then go through the Tier 1 games of this week that are coming up as well, because obviously we go straight back into more rugby. So to start off with, on Friday night was my All Blacks taking it to Ireland, 23-13 win for the boys. Probably one of the more grittier performances we've seen in the Razor era. I don't think it was necessarily a good rugby game. If you watched it as a spectator sport, probably not one of the best. But to me, it's what the All Blacks, this All Black side isn't used to doing, which is just winning and getting gritty wins. And I thought we shut down Ireland's attack really well. I thought we dominated in the areas of game. I did say, what did I say last week? I said if we give away less than 10 penalties, we'll win the game. I think we gave away about 7 or 8 in the end. So it was one of those games where we got our discipline right. We're hard to stop when we do that. Our defenses look better and better every week. I'm starting to come around that everyone's saying that this is the worst All Blacks team in a long time. And you know what we're doing? Coming second in the Rugby Championship. We're winning games in Ireland, in England. I think there's a lot of teams in the world that would take that and we consider that your worst team. So, look, this team's growing.
It's growth.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. Instinct growth. Like my comments last week were, do New Zealand have the points in them to keep it with Ireland? Because and as you mentioned, New Zealand's defense has been shaky, but it's tightened in this game. It's tightened. I think as well. Ireland was flat. Dare I say, Ireland took this game perhaps a bit lightly. And it paid as a result of it. There's been a lot of comments I've seen on social media about Irish fans not being necessarily happy with some of the players' attitudes, thinking they're showboating a bit too much. I think the world number 1 ranking maybe got to their heads, and a few other complaints about ticket prices being pretty high for the game. So the atmosphere and the crowd wasn't what you would want for hosting a nation like Ireland, which fair comment, and I think Ireland probably suffered off the back of that. It wasn't some of the usual atmosphere. I mean, the game between Ireland and South Africa earlier this year, that's atmosphere, right? This game, I think, lacking it a bit. And then New Zealand, I mean, Damien McKenzie, the game he needed, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting, and they awarded a man of the match, and I was like, did he play that well? Like, I think he played well, don't get me wrong, but did he play that well? But then we looked around and we were like, who else are you going to give it to? Like, there wasn't. This is what's probably really good about this All Blacks performance. There wasn't a standout performance. Like, again, Wallace Atiti was very good. Asafa Moore put up his hand for 79 minutes and showed his best performance in a black jersey, and I went, in the end, you do give it to the man who steered us around and kicked the points, and that was Damien McKenzie. And so, yeah, look, it was much needed for him to show he can do it. I think I need to know the inner circle of the All Blacks rumblings and how much power the marketing team has, because the decision to let Rieko Ioane lead the haka may have been one of the better decisions ever. It was the talk of the town was, will he or won't he? And then for him to do it, and not even just do it, like, it was, you could feel it again. It was one of those ones. They obviously moved forward again. The challenge was accepted. I was like, surely someone from the social media team gone, hey, look, lads, just in a circle, we know you've got to make this decision. The All Blacks in a circle does, because every time it's been Cody Taylor now or TJ Perenara, both of them not playing, it normally falls to Ardie Savia. But I think Ardie's probably gone, you know what? I'm all for showmanship. He loves a bit of that, and he's gone. Let's get Rico. Let's get him to lead, and because it was spine tingling, and it got us in the mood. You know what I mean? So
it brought the New Zealand atmosphere, and it deflated the Irish atmosphere. I think even more than it had already been deflated. You know, it was a game of aura, right? I think, and yeah, look, the Irish just had it. The All Blacks just had it, and the Irish just didn't have it this game. And I'm sure they'll be bitterly disappointed in their performance. That being said, it's exposed the game plan, I guess, that Australia can follow when we eventually take on Ireland as well. We'll have to do things our own way as well, but you know, New Zealand is doing a great job for us because you guys are going in and playing these guys first, and we're learning a lot. I'm sure they're learning a lot just from studying that film. And yeah, look, Rico Ioane, even the sort of little post-match jabs, still pretty classy. He didn't go too far with it as well. So yeah, it must have felt good for him. Must have felt bloody good.
Yeah, and talking about your Wallabies following suit on from us, you went into Twickenham and you got a bloody good job done.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Sorry. Sorry. We're so fucking back, baby. We're so back. So back. First time beating England in Twickenham since 2015. Fucking mirror image Matt Giddo, Max Jorgensen flying down the sideline. Oh my god. I sat there Sunday morning, watched the shortened version of the game because I didn't have enough time to watch the whole thing. The Stan, mini game. Far out. That was great watching. I at some stage I'm gonna have to go back and watch the whole thing. But what I grabbed from that mini package, I want to start with Joseph Suaalii, obviously the headline act of this game in the news media, and I think he had a fantastic performance. But I think it's the amount of plaudits he's getting is, I wouldn't say undeserved, but I think it is not recognizing the rest of the names there. And I think that's because those names aren't household names yet. Suaalii is already a household name from league. But Angus Bell, 9 broken tackles in this game, which is the record for a prop since the year 2000 or something like that. And the record before that was like 7 tackles, something like that. Like, just nuts. You saw the hits he was laying down while he was carrying the ball was crazy. But he's not the player of the game for me. Noah Lolesio had a decent game steering around the park, but an absolute sniper with the ball in not in hand but in foot. Incredible work from Noah. A confidence boosting game for him, I think. But he's not my player of the game either. Bobby V, incredible game. Just like Angus Bell, huge runs, huge tackles all around the park. Not my player of the game. Fraser McWright, Harry Wilson, incredible work in the back row again and again. Fraser McWright on that Max Jorgensen try at the end of the game. He's the closest player there. He's there in support. He is Mr. Everywhere. Not my player of the game. Player of the game goes to, and I think it's appropriate that this was in England, in Eddie Jones's old stomping grounds, Lenny Ikitau. Snubbed by Jones at the World Cup, finally unshackled from the giant boulder that was Hunter Paisami, now playing inside centre for the Wallabies, has the game of his career. Game of his career, and the confidence to put a left-handed flick pass 84th minute of the game, when all you need to do is keep ball in hand, and you'll more than likely wind up with a penalty or get in a position for a drop goal to win the game that way. To think, no, I'm going to win this game with a flick pass to the young blood Max Jorgensen. Incredible. And that's the spirit of Australian rugby that they need to recapture. And we've seen a little spark lit here in London that is going to carry Australia forward into glory.
Yeah, look, it was spine-tingling performance from both teams, to be honest. Like, after Callaway scored that try, I thought, game's done. Game's done. Wallabies have won. Congratulations. Then Itoje scores his try, and you're like, game's done. England's won. And as you said, the the balls and the courage to go out the back door from the reserve hooker to hit Donaldson, who's got flying D on him, to get the ball away quickly to McWright, who's facing the wrong way, to pop it to someone else, who then gives it to Ikitau, for Ikitau to then try all of that and to send Jorgensen on his way. As you said, just balls in made of steel.
Not
and
balls
heavy
of
metal.
steel, balls of gold. Balls of gold, mate.
Yeah.
Solid fucking 24-karat gold. Look, there's a lot to unpack in this game as well. But I do want to, since you've mentioned it, give props to England, especially to Marcus Smith. Just incredible performance in the 10. Once again, not taken off the field, but taken out of the 10 position and put into fullback for George Ford. And a lot of people took issue with that decision. And not even necessarily because of what Ford did, but because Smith's playing in the fullback and he's, has been playing 10 all game, might have been out of position on that last try. I don't think so. Look, I don't know that's necessarily where this game turned, or that's the reason for defeat. I don't think you could say that Smith was the reason they gave up that last try, especially when he was busting his gut to get in position to try and make a tackle on the ball. And then, England played like England. They bullied Australia in the scrum for a fair bit. Tani Latupa had another rough outing in the scrum, but that's Ellis Genge is just incredible there in the front row. But then you got to look back to Australia and look at maybe some of the unsung heroes in the squad. And one that comes to mind for me is Jeremy Williams, who Western Force player, so not a big ticket name player, not even a big second rower. Relatively undersized for a second rower. But what he gives the Aussies is someone who can actually catch the ball at the fucking kickoff, which we were severely missing during the Rugby Championship. But also grit, determination, sheer will, like that try he scored, just sheer willpower to stay in bounds to get the ball down, literally millimeters away. Lukan Salakai Lotto, I think as well, had another great game and charged down yet another kick, something he's quickly establishes himself as a pro at on the international stage. Jake Gordon, Tate McDermott both had great games. Tate McDermott with a nice little dart through from the ruck, as he so often does. And then look, speaking of Suali'i, what I liked about what he brought, again, I don't think he was man of the match. I think he was one of their better players, but I don't think he was man of the match simply because Ikitau had a fantastic game. And from my mind, it probably goes Ikitau, Bell, Valentini, then Suali'i around there. You can make some other arguments for other players as well. But what he gives the Wallabies, which they've been missing arguably since Israel Folau left, is someone who can jump and make contested catches. How many times have we seen the Aussies go for little chips over the top, or go for these deep bomb kicks, or get these deep bomb kicks coming towards them they just simply can't handle? I wasn't joking before with the kickoff with Jeremy Williams. Like, legitimately, no one was catching the ball off the kickoff. It was a disaster every time. But now we've got that part locked down, and now we've got someone in the backs who could field a kick as well. Great job from Suali, and then just great ball playing and playmaking ability out of the 13 jersey, which again I think we've been missing, and not necessarily because it's been the outside center's fault. Again, I think Ikitau was hampered a bit by not having a great inside center. But now that you've got Ikitau in that inside center position, you can have Suali'i in that outside center position, or you can put Karevi back into that inside position if Ikitau's injured or something like that. They've got some depth now. They're building some depth, but Suali'i provides playmaking ability. He has probably what you would call the intangibles, the just ability to make something happen. That try to Tom Wright, just fantastic. And we have to remember as well, this was his first test match. Not only that, this is his first game of professional rugby union. He played schoolboys, but he's never played a Super Rugby and never played any kind of professional rugby union game. This was his first one, and he's in there tapping balls on in the air, one-handed passes over the top, taking great hit-ups as well. What I liked is he didn't, and the same with Ikitau, is that we didn't see what we so often see from Aussie centers, particularly Paisami, which is unsupported runs from the center into the teeth of the opposition and then getting a turnover, the opposition getting a turnover. Just smart play from, I think again, I think a lot of the media is forgetting that this was a junior rugby union representative player, right? It's not as if he's not Nathan Cleary. He hasn't come up through the rugby league system. He's come up through the rugby union system. He's played union far longer than he's played league, but he hadn't played a professional match yet. So there is still that element to it that is impressive. Last thing I'm going to say on this game is fuck you to David Campese and fuck you to Ben Youngs as well for all of their negative talk pre-game. And I think the Aussies were pretty vocal about their about having that as motivation. Young at least has owned up to it and said, "I'm eating humble pie. I was wrong. Happy to be wrong. It was a great game. Looking forward to the Lions series now." At least he, he owned what he said. Campese, it's really unfortunate to hear him speak like this, but he was basically tried to claim it as like, "Oh yeah, I was using it all as motivational tactics for the boys." It's like what you were saying wasn't motivational. What you were saying is you were talking about their tactics and strategy. You weren't talking about attitude and willingness and things like that that you can motivate people to do. You were talking about fundamental game plan. So in the post game interviews and even walking off the field, the players heard Young loud and clear, right? They heard what he said, and a lot of social media posts. And I think I saw an article Young was saying as well that he'd received a lot of texts from ex-Aussie teammates, and to be fair to him, he has played it like a gentleman. He's owned it like a gentleman, and so props to him for that. But hey, talk shit, get hit.
Yeah, look, that wasn't the most Wallabies thing ever for you to sit here and name every single player on the field for your one win to say that you're back. I don't know what is Wallaby over the past 20 years. So it's good to hear that you're in a good place, mate. Look, we'll move swiftly on through the other games.
Lord, it's been so long.
Italy versus Argentina. Argentina run away with it. Look, we kind of felt like this was the opportunity and this is what was going to happen. We didn't know what to expect from Italy. Look, is it... And this will become a question as we get towards the end of all these games, is it a bit of dust getting shaken off the old Northern Hemisphere teams who haven't played games? Like you look at England's the only team that had played a game before this. None of the other teams had. Italy came out strong but couldn't last with this Argentina team who's had the backing of a rugby championship. Look, it's another one where I go, Argentina's attack may be the best in the world just about at the moment. You look back at their 60 points they put on you. They now put 50 points on Italy, and they do it. And again, they did 40 points on us. This isn't now a one-time thing. Whatever Argentina is doing, it's working for them. And Italy just can't keep up with that level at the moment.
I think it's just time to stop being surprised by Argentina, being surprised that they have these big wins. I think it's time. I think there's a bit of bias in there because of historically they've fought to get where they are, haven't always put up the results, but and I think the fact that they haven't won a Rugby World Cup counts against them as well. But and to be honest, and maybe I'm reaching here, but I think there is potentially a bit of a racial element to it because they're from South America. Not anything negative in that way or racism, but just the simple, or maybe it should be geographical is what is probably the term I'm looking for, is that because they're from South America, they're not from a traditional rugby heartland like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Europe, right? That for some reason that we don't believe in them. This is one of the top teams in the world. This is a Rugby World Cup semi-finalist, multi-time semi-finalist. They've gotten further than Ireland's ever gotten, right? So I think it's just time we stop being surprised by Argentina and just start holding them to the same level of respect as South Africa and New Zealand and Australia and England and France, Ireland, all these other teams. But equally, we have to hold them to account to that same level as well. So if they have a poor performance, we've got to call them out on those poor performances as well. When people get on the Australians for getting spanked by Argentina, giving up 60 points and whatnot, we then need to critique Argentina as well when they give up big losses to the likes of New Zealand and South Africa as well. The same way that we at least in the Australian media or the rugby media, that Australia gets lambasted when we have poor results. That's Argentina needs to have that same thing as well, and that's a good thing. They've earned that. They deserve that. They are a tier 1 rugby nation. They should be held to the same level of respect as South Africa and New Zealand and Australia. We're all in the rugby championship together. So they're not just there to make up the numbers. They are a legitimate team, and it's about time that we just stop being surprised by them.
Totally. Talking about poor results, France and Japan. Japan, it went about exactly as I expected it. Yep. Japan just isn't up to a tier 1 team nation at the moment.
Yeah.
Look, I think they'll struggle to get a win. We can say they probably don't have the cattle at the moment, but they also don't have probably the best coach in the coaching box. Surprise, surprise. So, look, France run away with it easy. I think France probably will have enjoyed their schedule now that they welcome the All Blacks, having to get to play Japan early and get a kind of warm-up game into it. As you said, Japan in the Northern Hemisphere, so don't count as that Southern Hemisphere battle that everyone else has. But talking about a battle, Wales versus Fiji, we said it was the uninspired bowl, but boy, they gave us some inspiration in the game. I tell you what a fight that was, 24-19, Wales versus Fiji. Saw the first red card of this Autumn Nations series, which again is a 20-minute red card to Semi Radradra, and so he was able to be replaced, which probably helped the product of the game. I would have said it was in about the 25th-ish minute. If he had to stay off, it would have been a Welsh victory, you would have thought. However, saying that, when Fiji were down to 13 men, Fiji managed to score with one of the better tries you'll see from Caleb Muntz. So, look, Fiji, again, it's another one of these ones that we look back at last week and we go, what happened? They played so poor. But they've got these performances in them. They're in this top 10 nations. They can beat anyone on their day. First time they've ever beaten Wales in Cardiff. Yep. And it's a big result for them. For Wales on the other side, 400-plus days without an international win. If you were going to circle a game, this was it. But they've got to get up and go again. They've got to find a way to get a win because there's talent in that team. There's no doubt about it in the Welsh team. They're just not making it work. And they've got one of the best coaches of all times in Gatland still holding firm in the coaching box. So I don't know what it's going to take, but they need something.
I've seen a lot of stuff on social media, speaking of Fiji, that instead of shunning the rugby championship as it has been, it should be expanded to include Fiji and potentially even Japan to make it our own version of the Six Nations. I think that would be a great idea. You could have Six Nations and Six Nations Southern Hemisphere. Combine the branding, have a partnership, and then you can advertise and play those games. Access to both markets. One's played when the other's off as well, so all rugby fans can enjoy that as well. Then maybe you have something where the winners of each play each other. Super Six Nations Bowl, something like that. But look, I think Fiji is there to make it interesting. I don't know if Japan is there. Then again, there's criticisms of Italy as well. Japan's capable of upsetting anyone on their day as well. So, just an idea. Another idea out there for the rugby power brokers that be. Let's get some more entertainment going. Look, Fiji are solidifying their place in World Rugby. They're building. I think Wales, to some extent, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but Wales has some relatively young players in their team. I think there's a lot of development that needs to be done. You're going to have to go through a period of pain, right? We're well aware. So I think Wales is just copying that a bit at the moment. But Wales is resilient. Wales is a rugby nation. They will return, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, totally. And the last game of the round was Scotland versus South Africa. You were proven wrong by the South Africans.
It was.
One of the few predictions we didn't get right. I think we predicted Wales as well, but we knew that was going to be a close game and anyone could take it. It was one of those South African performances. They didn't play necessarily well. And I think that most South Africans will admit that, and they still won by 17 points in the end or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you just go
17 points. Yep.
It's another one where you look back and you go, they've done it again. Like, don't even need to play well. Won the game quite convincingly. I know there was a try at the end to make it a 17-point win, and it was only 10 points at that point. And there was opportunities there for Scotland. They pushed them all the way, but again, it's one of those things, and I'm trying to work it out. Like, how do you beat the Springbok team? Like, what mathematically do you have to do it? Because it's without ever wanting this, but I feel like you're just about, especially if they go to a 7-1 split, you're wishing for injuries. and again, as you never want to be doing that when you're going into a rugby game, is wishing for injuries on anyone. But you go, this South African team, when they can bring on those 7 forwards to make that impact, and I'm not against it. This isn't me complaining about it. I love the fact that they've strategized and this is the way it works. But when they can bring on 7 forwards, and those 7 forwards include Jasper Wiese, Peter Steff, and Sia Kolisi, you're in a lot of trouble. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that you're in some trouble. So Scotland hung in there, but they couldn't come to it when the bomb squad. I saw a good post saying it was the atomic bomb squad coming on. So like, I just go, I don't know where you can. You've got to force them into errors. They don't make a lot of those. You've got to keep the scoreboard ticking over. Scotland did the best they could, but I just don't think they were ever going to get there. Looking at these two teams now.
Yeah, after seeing the results, seeing what happened in that game, it's. I don't think Wales is so bad to have lost to a Fijian team that got beaten so badly by Scotland, that lost by such a big margin to South Africa. I don't think Wales is that poor. So just stack it up. I think, from my perspective, probably a bit of false hope after seeing what Scotland did to Fiji, right? Because Fiji is a legitimate rugby nation as well. And so thinking they could bring some of that momentum, playing at home. I know Scotland's a bit flat in this one. I think as well, and this is going to sound pretty weak, but I think playing in those sort of weird, almost light blue white jerseys, that's not Scottish colours. Scottish colours is that deep navy Scottish blue, And so I don't know. Sometimes things like that could get in your head mentally, where you're just not. It looked pretty cheap. I feel like that affects the Scottish attitude. Scottish rugby is at its best when they're sort of down there in the mud, grinding out games, like just out toughing you, because they're tough bastards, the Scottish. And I think they lost a bit of that by not having those jerseys on. I know that's some very weird analysis, but just looking at it, it just didn't feel like Scotland. Like watching the game, it didn't feel like Scotland.
Sounds like a man trying to claim that his prediction was wrong because of the jerseys.
No, absolutely not, absolutely not. The Scottish, what I'm using it to say is that the Scottish, they basically didn't turn up for this game. I feel like, it just, it wasn't what we've seen before out of them. It was pretty uninspiring from the Scottish.
It was a little bit, but that's what South Africa will do to you. That is the main Tier 1 games of the week. There was a hell of a lot of rugby going around. There's Chile playing, Uruguay.
There was some other really good results as well. I think there was another.
Romania beat Tonga.
That's the one I was going to say. Romania beat Tonga.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yep.
Out of nowhere, like that for me is a huge upset.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a small margin of victory either.
10 points, yeah. Takes a little shine off the Southern Hemisphere, let's just say that. What are we doing with our island brothers? Got to help them out. Come on, someone sort that out.
Exactly. We need to get some integrated competitions going.
Yep. On to this week, though. It is what it is. It's happened now. It's in the book. Yeah. Southern Hemisphere dominates. Now we go into this week. There's 4 Tier 1 games.
Yeah. There's a couple of other Southern Hemisphere results that. But majority of the games are won by the Southern Hemisphere. That's what counts. A lot of our South American brothers did their job. So, Southern Hemisphere pride still going strong.
So this week we've got Ireland against Argentina, England against South Africa, France against the All Blacks, and Wales against Australia. In that order of games. So start off with Ireland against Argentina. Let's hear your thoughts on this game to start with, my friend.
This one for me is really tough. I think we will see exactly what both of these squads are made of in this series from this game. I think it's a real watermark level type of game for them both. Ireland, you mentioned that maybe it's a bit of the rust needing to be knocked off some of these teams. We've all played a game now, right? The rust has been knocked off. Ireland not only played a game, but they lost a game that they had a lot of emotional investment into against the All Blacks. The Johnny Sexton versus Rico Ioane comments, having won in New Zealand previously, playing in their home ground. Now you got Argentina coming off the back of a huge win against Italy. You've got Argentinians with that confidence boost, with their exceptional attack. Ireland hungry for revenge. But I think Ireland might have quite a poor Autumn Nation series, and I think Argentina is going to win this one. I was saying before that we need to hold Argentina to the same standard as the other rugby championship teams, and I think that if New Zealand can beat Ireland, Argentina can beat Ireland, and I think Argentina will beat Ireland.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. And I'm going to follow on from the back of you and go, look, Ireland have dropped to third place in the Rugby World Rankings. They've fallen below South Africa. They've been knocked off their number one in the world. And that'll hurt. Why? Because that's all they've got to hold on to, like Six Nations is already done. Rugby World Cup, they're still leaning off their quarterfinal losses. And as you said, this Argentina team, the Argentina team has made 2 semi-finals. They've done something that Ireland have never done. So I think Ireland are going to go, you know what? This team, we are who we are, isn't what we showed against the All Blacks. We've lost our number one world ranking. We're now third. We lost a bit of who we were. We didn't play that well. And we've got a fired up Argentinian team coming in here off the back of a big win, off the back of their best rugby championship results ever. What do we do here? And I think the Irish stand up and I think the Irish go, we're going to fucking show everyone why we were the best team for so long, why we had 19 wins in a year. I don't think it's convincing. I'm not saying I think it's one of those ones where Argentina will put in a fight. It'll come down to the wire. But I think the Irish get over here. I think they improve on what they did. They can't get any worse is my thinking. And to say that, to only lose to the All Blacks by 10 points and say they can't get any worse, I think the Irish hold firm. They go, we had a 19-game win streak. We were on one of the greatest runs of all time in our home nation. Argentina are going to come in here, get a little bit of a wake-up call, understand that we're not Italy, and there's going to be more physical. I think Argentina play up to their level. I just don't think they're there yet. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think there's going to be a lot of tries. I think it's going to be a game worth watching. I think this has taken the emotion out of Ireland now. Like they had their All Blacks game. They lost. All they're looking for now is to put on a performance. I think they do it in this one. I think Ireland win.
Can't get any worse, you say, mate. Australia's been saying that for 20 years. It can always get worse. It can always get worse.
Until that one famous day in Twickenham when Max Jorgensen was running down the sideline. Second game, can it get any worse for the English? Yes, it can. They now welcome the 2-time defending Rugby World Champions, the number one team in the world, the 4-time World Cup winners, South Africa, into their home after back-to-back losses to the 2 former Tri-Nations or Tri-Nations teams in the All Blacks in England. South Africa go into Twickenham. What do you see happening, my friend?
I think South Africa win, but I think it's close. I think this English team, they haven't got the wins, but they've put in some bloody good performances. This English forward pack against the South African forward pack is a salivating matchup. There's a lot of criticism directed towards the English for self-inflicted wounds, and I think they tied it up a bit. I still think South Africa win, but I don't think it's a blowout. I think it's a tight game.
Yeah, all right. Heading into this one, as I said, now number one team in the world, South Africa, looking to really make a stamp on world rugby. Look, the English are battered and bruised. There's no doubt about it. They've just lost to New Zealand by a whisker, and then to lose in the 84th minute, you can see the players are gutted. They have long seasons, the English. The South Africans are coming off the back of a relatively, underwhelming performance against Scotland, but got the job done. I think Razzie now unleashes the beast. There's no better place to go and win somewhere than in Twickenham. And to know that they're down 0-2, I think Razzie's going to pull off the Band-Aid and just go, you boys, we're going to eat these guys alive. And let's end Borthwick's reign right here and now. And I think it's going to be a dominating performance by this box. I just think England have been battered and bruised too much that this pack's going to come in here. You've got to think they've been making tackles against 2 of the better teams in the world. One of the better teams in the world, and the Wallabies, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you not hear me say we're back? Did you not hear? Do I need to turn around again?
So I think they've done that.
Angus Bell record for most broken tackles in a game. That's not an easy man to tackle.
Yeah, I'm not saying he is, all right, exactly, but I'm just saying, and this is what I'm saying, they've been battered and bruised. Tom Corey knocked out. They've had their battles. They're losing players. The Springboks are going to go into this fired up to say we are the number one team in the world, and there's no better place to do it than in Twickenham, and everyone's realising that. We love doing it. You lot look like you love doing it.
Yeah.
The Springboks are going to get there. They're going to come out in colours. You know it's going to be a green and yellow party at the game. And so I go, Springboks are taking this. And I just don't see any world where the English win this game. I just don't.
Yeah. I don't think they win. I think it's closer than that. I think England have got a lot of fight in them. The desperation to not be 0-3 is a pretty big motivating factor. But that being said, I don't think South Africa loses. I think it's close, but it's a type of close game that South Africa always looks in control of, always ahead by 2 penalty kicks or something like that. But still close. But they never look like they're gonna give up that lead. Yeah, look, I mean, I think there'll be plenty of very vocal supporters in the crowd as well for the Springboks.
Yeah. Yep. Now on to probably the juiciest matchup of the week. This is a lot of intrigue going into the France and the All Blacks game.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's a lot of unknown. The French have only played one game. It was against Japan. The All Blacks have kind of looked a bit more like themselves. So you're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Dupont obviously playing again at a really high level. There's a bit of feeling going into this game as well, because we do not forget easily that next year the French are meant to be coming to New Zealand. They've already said that they're sending a B team. We're at this point here. So is there no better way to shut a team up and say, send your fucking B team, because we'll beat your A team inside your own home country? So there's definitely some feeling again. Like the All Blacks have gone feeling, because you go into Twickenham, you're going to have some feeling. You go and play the Irish, who again, a rivalry has come out. And then we play the French, who are historic beaters of us in some of their most important times. And they're French, exactly.
And they're
so
French.
so I go, look, it's one of those fiery games that you just want to get up for and you want to be there for. I think the All Blacks get up for it. I think, pre-starting this tour, there would have been a lot of doubters about this game. 2 games in, there's going to be a lot of, I think, impressed people and impressed rugby players or rugby followers in the New Zealand region. And I go, what is going to happen? I think it's going to be another tide of fear. Let's not hide away from the fact that we're in battles in these games. But I think what we will see again is, as a very similar to the Irish performance, where we're a couple of kicks ahead or a try ahead, we hold that advantage. I think the French are going to chuck a lot more attacking-wise at us than the Irish did, and even the English did. So our defence is going to be tested at its most since probably playing the Springboks. And I go, can we deliver a same defensive performance? Can we deliver a same discipline performance and give away under 10 penalties? Because if we get our defence and get our discipline right, no team can beat us. Maybe the Springboks, but no other team can beat us. So, and we've proven that. So I think if we nail those 2 things, I think All Blacks win this game. But again, I think it's a close game. I think anywhere 0 to 7 points will be a win for the All Blacks.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's a real, again, similar to Argentina and Ireland's game. I think this one's a real litmus test of these 2 teams, of where they're at right now. Especially for New Zealand. I think it's a bigger test for New Zealand. I feel like France, it's funny that much like Ireland, they didn't have the World Cup success they wanted, particularly the home World Cup. But I feel like just the attitude I get from the French is a lot less. I don't think that the Irish feel like they have something to prove. I don't think and maybe it's because they were world number 1, and a lot of people are calling them illegitimate world number 1s. Whereas France, because I don't have the pressure, I don't think they feel that same need to prove themselves. They have the confidence about them, the French. Some call it arrogance. Some call it being French. They just have this quality about them where they just go about their business and do what they do. They've got Antoine Dupont, the best rugby player in the world, steering them around. They've got Ramos there at the back, absolute sniper with the ball as well. That being said, we're riding the Anzac spirit this entire tour, so I am picking New Zealand to win. I think Mackenzie builds off his solid performance against Ireland. I think this team continues to mesh well together, and I think it's again similar to the Irish game. What did you say for that one? If you commit less than 10 penalties, you'd win. I think it's the same type of win condition here. You can't give Ramos too many opportunities to put points on the board, and to snatch the momentum as well. I think you've got to keep the pressure on them and disturb that sang-froid they have, that calm demeanor, get them and make them desperate where they can unravel a little bit. It's going to be tough game. Going to be a tough game.
Yep. And the last game of the round, Wales against Australia, wouldn't be anything more Australian-like, or would it be like to win a famous victory in England and then go to a team that hasn't won an international game in 400 plus days and lose? However, saying that, I'm going to let you open up with your prediction.
Wales love to beat Australia as well. Wales love to play Australia and love to beat Australia. Always seem to play better against Australia than almost anyone else. Like, so many World Cup pool games I've watched that where Wales and Australia have been in the same pool, because of course we are, for whatever reason, and Wales just seem to go to another level against Australia. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we did to the Welsh. I'm of Welsh heritage myself, and I don't know what's going on. You know, last name Hughes, one of the most popular last names in Wales, second only to probably Jones. You know, like, and I don't know what goes on, but the Welsh just seem to go up a notch when they play against Australia, much like the Scottish against England. Actually, the Scottish elevate themselves when they play against England. You know, I just don't know what it is. I really don't know what we did to the Welsh. Whatever we did, I'm sorry. Let's keep your streak going one more week, though. Australia, obviously, my catchphrase for this podcast. Australia, obviously, Australia is going to win this one. Can't go into this one too overconfident, though. Cannot. Have to remember our recent history against Wales. Huge loss in the Rugby World Cup just over 12 months ago. Not that far in the rearview mirror. And we played them recently as well here in Australia, and they weren't massive wins. They weren't blowout wins. Again, you know, no Suoli'i still coming together. First couple of games under Schmidt. You know, they've grown since then, but have to be on song like they were against the English. And you know, what I would say is go into this game confident but cautious. You know, you need to have that confidence to play that Australian attacking rugby that everyone loves so much, and that gets the results that we're built on. But still need to have caution. Still need to, you know when to pull the trigger, know when to back off. You know, have to play smart rugby. Wales is still they're a Six Nations rugby team. They're still a top level international team. They made it further in the Rugby World Championship than we did. Cannot take them lightly. But Australia, obviously.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna eat less humble pie than you are, because obviously, as you've said, you have to be cautious. As a Wallabies fan, you do have to be cautious. As a neutral fan, I don't have to be cautious. The Wallabies are going to fuck the Welsh up. I think this is going to be a tip of the hat, like Joe Schmidt performance. Be like, we turned it and we beat England, and then the next week we backed it up, and it's going to be like, are the Wallabies fucking back? Like, this is going to get people talking. I think it's going to be like a 40-15 type performance. I think your attack is smooth. If you can iron out some of those defensive inefficiencies, and again, this isn't. You ain't got fucking Marcus Smith attacking you. You've got Sam Costello. Like, this isn't a good attacking team in the Welsh side. They put on 19 points. They didn't score a single point while Fiji were down to 13 men. I go, they're not going to score that many points if you can have a good defensive game, which I think you will. I think you'll work it out. There's not a lot of threats in that Welsh team at the moment. And I think the Wallabies, as you said, the attacking flair's there, and you've got it. If you go with Ikitau and Suoli'i, 12 and 13, I think you've got the wingers to finish. Tom Wright has another good game. Four-pack jumps up again. I go, look, you can eat all the humble pie, because you do have to be cautious. There's no doubt about it. Wallabies fans have to be cautious to jump the gun. As a New Zealander and as just Anzac spirit, I don't. And I'm going, fucking, you're going to F some fuckers up. And the Welsh are just unfortunate ones in the line of sight. And I'm like, I'm just happy this is all happening now, and it hasn't happened pre-Rugby Championship, where I would have been a lot more worried. But now that I can see that there's some good shit happening in Wallabies, I'm getting a little bit nervous. But we're a long way away from another Bledisloe, and there's a lot of time for Wallabies to go back down and somehow fuck themselves up.
The other part I'm a bit concerned about is that Harry Wilson won't be in this game, which is, you know, incredible to say 12 months on, but captain's out. He is one of those guys that he leads through effort and attitude and a bit by example, but he's not the exceptional kind of lead by example like a Michael Hooper was. You know what I mean? But he's just, you know, digs in and gives a huge performance, and is just, you know, clearly the team responds well to his leadership style. So then the concern is who is the captain for this next game, and how does that affect the cohesiveness of the squad? How does that affect the relationship with the referee, which Australian have been known to not have the best at times. And does Schmidt look to rest any of his players? Does he look to mix things up in the back line to see what he's got in different positions? Put Suoliti on a wing, get Karevi and Ikitau as a center pairing, just to see what can happen. Figure out what his best backline combo is going to be. That's what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is that the clear prerogative for Schmidt is to improve this team, not necessarily to win games. Those can be two different things. So you need to test and experiment at different times when you're trying to figure out what your best squad is, because you've got the Lions tour next year. You need to know what your best squad is for next year. You need to know, do I need to bring Samu Karevi over? Do I need to bring Will Skelton over for our international spots? Marika Korobeti's got a broken wrist, I think. So he's out. But how does he fit into the squad if we've got such other depth as well? Maybe do we look to bring in some other international players? So that's what I'm worried about, is that Schmidt is not going to put, I think, his best team on the park. I think because he's still using this as an opportunity to learn about this team, which is, that's why they took such a extended squad over, including the Wallabies XV. Does he give Tane Edmed a run around the park this game after seeing what Noah had to offer? I think similar, echoing your comments about France and the All Blacks, there is still some unknowns with this Wallabies squad as well. There are still some things to be figured out, and that can be a messy and sometimes ugly process. And you might need to cop some losses along the way to do that. And this is one of those games where it could very well happen. This could be a trap type of game where the Wallabies maybe come in overconfident and figure, okay, we can use this to test out some different combos. It doesn't fire the same way, so on and so forth. That's as a paranoid Wallabies fan, that's all that's going.
Can we just we'll just chuck it back to where you turned around and said we're back, baby, to you now saying we may just lose to Wales. That's the most Wallabies thing ever again. That's what you've just said.
I did predict. I said that's what I'm worried about. I still think we'll win. But that's where I could see, if I'm being the pessimist that we've all Wallabies fans have grown used to being. If I retreat back to my old self for a second, that's my concerns with this game. That's why I don't know if we will. I sure hope we do. I sure hope that even if Schmidt tests out these different combos, that it still fires really well, because everyone's bought into his system. Because then we can start being like a South Africa and an All Blacks, where you can swap those players in and out because you have the system there that can accommodate those players, that is built for success. So that way, even if you're not 100% healthy, you could still be challenging anyone on your day. That's what I hope happens. That's what I want to have happen. I'm just concerned that it may not happen, and not that we'll lose, but that it won't be the convincing win we need it to be.
There you go. So yeah, lots to look forward to this week. A few more big games in and around. But that will do us for today. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place, reviewing all these games and looking into the week after. Thank you for joining us. I've been Luke. That's been Husey. We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Peace.